Stop scrolling right now, because what you are about to hear could completely change how you see one of the most famous men in Hollywood. Before we go any further, do me a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and most importantly, stay with me until the very last second of the story, because every detail matters and nothing here is accidental. This is not a rumor recap, this is not internet speculation, and this is not something that fades in a day. This is a lawsuit that has already been filed in court, and it involves a global superstar, a rising musician, and a chain of events that allegedly unfolded behind closed doors, backstage, and inside a hotel room in Las Vegas. And before anyone jumps to conclusions, remember this. Allegations are not convictions, but allegations like these do not appear out of nowhere. A professional violinist named Brian King Joseph has officially sued Will Smith and his company, Treyball Studios Management Incorporated, in California Superior Court. The claims are serious and far-reaching: sexual harassment, retaliation, and wrongful termination. According to the lawsuit, this all traces back to what should have been the biggest moment of Joseph's career. He wasn't a random outsider. He wasn't a fan trying to get close. He was hired. He was performing. He was on stage. And according to his account, he was brought into a world that looked like opportunity, mentorship, and creative collaboration. Joseph claims he first crossed paths with Smith in late 2024, a meeting that quickly evolved into something much bigger. He appeared on stage with Smith, publicly introduced, celebrated in front of live audiences. Soon after, he says he was invited to join the based on a true story global tour planned for the following year. This was not just another gig. This was international exposure, months of performances, and the kind of career leap most musicians only dream about. According to Joseph, he was told there would be more involvement, more stage time, and deeper collaboration. At that moment, everything looked perfect. But this is where the story starts to take a turn. In the complaint, Joseph alleges that Smith told him they shared a special connection. On its own, that phrase might sound harmless. Artists say things like that all the time. But Joseph claims this statement carried a very different meaning in context. According to him, it was not simply artistic praise or professional encouragement. He alleges it was part of a pattern that made him uncomfortable, something that, in his view, suggested grooming and an attempt to blur professional boundaries. At this point in the story, nothing explodes publicly. There are no headlines yet, no lawsuits, no Instagram statements. Everything is still happening quietly behind the scenes while the tour moves forward. Joseph continues performing. He continues working. And then the tour reaches Las Vegas. What allegedly happens there is the core of this entire case. And it is the moment that, according to Joseph, changed everything. Joseph claims that during the Las Vegas leg of the tour in March 2025, he returned to his hotel room and immediately sensed something was wrong. According to the lawsuit, someone had entered the room without his permission. There were no signs of forced entry, which made the situation even more disturbing. Inside the room, Joseph claims he found items that did not belong to him: wipes, a beer bottle, personal belongings, and most unsettling of all, a bottle of HIV medication with another person's name on it. Then there was a note. The lawsuit describes the note as suggestive, personal, and alarming. Joseph claims the message made him fear that someone intended to return and that the situation carried a sexual threat of violence. This is not presented as speculation in the complaint, but as the emotional reaction he says he experienced in that moment. Alone in a hotel room, far from home, on a tour controlled by people he worked for, Joseph claims he felt unsafe. What he does next is critical to this story. According to the lawsuit, Joseph reported the incident immediately. He contacted hotel security. He called a non-emergency police line. And he informed tour management. He says he documented what he found and asked for help. And this is where, according to his account, everything collapsed. Instead of support, Joseph alleges he was met with skepticism. Instead of protection, he claims he was shamed. According to the complaint, a member of the tour team suggested that he fabricated the incident. He claims he was made to feel like the problem for speaking up. No full investigation, no meaningful follow-up. And then, within days, something happened that Joseph says confirmed his worst fears. He was fired from the tour. No gradual phase out. No long explanation. According to the lawsuit, he was simply removed. And what made it worse, he claims, was that another violinist was hired shortly afterward to take his place. To Joseph, this wasn't coincidence. It was retaliation. Before we go any further, pause for a second. If you are still watching, comment the word "watching" below. Not later. Right now. This tells the algorithm you want the full story. And it tells me you're still here. Because what comes next is where the legal consequences, the emotional fallout, and the public denial all collide. And trust me, you do not want to miss the rest. If you're still here, that means you understand that this story is not about gossip alone. It's about power, credibility, and what happens when someone claims they spoke up and paid the price for it. And before we continue, make sure you are subscribed and that notifications are on, because stories like this do not end with one video. Now let's keep going. According to the lawsuit, the aftermath of Joseph's termination was devastating. This wasn't just the loss of a job. Joseph claims it was the collapse of his career momentum at a critical moment. The complaint described severe emotional distress, reputational harm, and economic loss. He alleges that the sudden firing, combined with the way his report was handled, caused long-term psychological damage, including post-traumatic stress disorder. These are not casual claims. In civil court, statements like these are meant to establish damages, the real-world consequences of what someone says happened to them. Legally, Joseph is not relying on a single argument. His lawsuit includes multiple causes of action under California law: retaliation, wrongful termination in violation of public policy, sexual harassment, violations of civil rights protections designed to prevent intimidation and discrimination. The core argument is simple but powerful, that he engaged in protected activity by reporting a safety and sexual misconduct concern, and that he was punished for it. Now, this is the point where public narratives usually split in two. One side says this is a brave whistleblower story. The other says this is an opportunistic lawsuit aimed at a famous name. And that divide becomes even sharper when you hear the response from Smith's legal team. Will Smith's attorney has categorically denied every allegation. The claims have been described as false, baseless, and reckless. According to Smith's legal representation, they intend to use every legal avenue available to expose what they say is the truth. No apology, no settlement hints, no soft language, a full denial. And that denial is why this story is far from over. Because when two sides are this far apart, the battlefield becomes evidence. Messages, emails, call logs, hotel records, security footage, witness statements. None of that has been publicly released yet. And that's exactly why this case holds so much tension. What adds another layer to this story is what Joseph did before the lawsuit became public. Days earlier, he posted a video on Instagram. He did not name names. He did not give details. But he spoke directly about being fired after reporting sexual misconduct and safety concerns. He talked about being blamed and shamed for speaking up. At the time, most people had no idea who he was referring to. In hindsight, that video now looks like a warning shot, a signal that something much bigger was coming. And this is where you need to understand why cases like this grip the public so intensely. This is not about proving anything in a comment section. It's about watching two realities collide in a courtroom. On one side, a global icon with decades of fame, influence, and resources. On the other, a musician claiming his career and mental health were damaged after reporting something he says left him afraid for his safety. No matter where you stand, one thing is undeniable. Once a lawsuit like this is filed, there is no undo button. Depositions happen. Statements are locked in. Timelines are dissected. And inconsistencies, if they exist on either side, tend to surface. Before we reach the final part, I want you to do something very specific. In the comments, do not argue yet. Instead, answer this question only. Do you believe speaking up in powerful environments is truly safe? Type yes or no. Nothing else. Because the last part of this script explains why that question matters more than ever in this case, and why the outcome could ripple far beyond one tour or one celebrity. If you've made it this far, you already know this story isn't simple, and it isn't designed to be resolved in a headline. This is about credibility, timing, and consequences. And now, as promised, we bring everything together without giving you a neat ending, because there isn't one yet. What makes this case so volatile is not just what Joseph alleges happened, but when everything unfolded. The alleged incident occurs during a high-profile tour. The report is made internally. The termination follows shortly after. Then, weeks later, a lawsuit appears. This sequence is exactly what courts examine when deciding whether retaliation occurred. Proximity in time matters. Replacement matters. Documentation matters. Silence matters. On the other side, Smith's team will likely argue motive. Why now? Why file publicly? Why make these claims against someone so famous? These questions are common in cases like this, and juries hear them all the time. What matters is not speculation, but evidence. And at this stage, most of that evidence remains unseen. This is why the case has captured so much attention. Not because anyone has proven anything yet, but because both sides are staking everything on their version of events. Joseph is asking a jury to believe that speaking up cost him his career and his mental health. Smith is asking the world to believe the allegations are fiction. Only one version can ultimately prevail, and sometimes, neither side gets the ending they expect. So here's where you come in. This story will continue to develop. Motions will be filed. Statements may be released. Details may emerge. And how the public reacts often shapes how stories like this are remembered long before a verdict is reached. If you want to be part of that conversation, here's exactly how to do it. First, comment below with your thoughts, but do it respectfully. Attack ideas, not people. Second, share this video with someone who follows celebrity news closely, because context matters, and clips alone never tell the full story. Third, subscribe and turn notifications on, because updates in cases like this do not follow a schedule, and when something breaks, you'll want to understand it immediately, not days later through distorted headlines. And finally, stay curious, stay skeptical, stay engaged, because whether this lawsuit ends in dismissal, settlement, or trial, it represents something much larger than one tour or one name. It represents the tension between fame and accountability, between speaking up and staying silent, and between public image and private allegations. If you made it to the end, comment, and below, so I know you stayed with the full story. This is only the beginning.